Thank you for joining us this week on Leader to Leader. We're talking with Dean Emeritus, Dr. Ed Ranelli, College of Business Dean from 2000 to 2013. He gives us insights on the history of the college as well as where he thinks that business education is going in the future. Take a listen to conversation between our current Dean, Dean Rick Fountain, and Dr. Ed Ranelli. Welcome to this Leader to Leader. I am so thrilled to be with these awesome gentlemen. Dr. Ranelli is Dean Emeritus with the College of Business at University of West Florida. And of course, we have Dr. Fountain, who is the current dean. And so a wealth of knowledge. I can't wait to hear this. So join me in listening. And I just want to launch it. And I usually do, and we kind of just talk about leadership here and some skills. But we have somebody with some great knowledge of the College of Business. And, Ed, can you kind of take us into the College of Business when you joined? What was it like when you first joined? And what was that year that you joined?
I've had two tours of duty at the University of West Florida. I came to UWF as a young 26-year-old ABD, right, Rick? With I think my students would, and Rick will confirm this, badass economist. Cocky economist that thought he knew everything, but I've mellowed out over the years. But I came in the 70s and then did tour duty at the UWF for I think 12 years, and was the chairman of the college, the Department of Economics and Marketing. My last year at UWF during that tenure, I was president of the Faculty Senate, and I had an opportunity to take a sabbatical to get into healthcare, to work with my mentor, Pat Groner. I don't know if you know Pat Groner, but he was a giant in the healthcare business, and just a delightful person to work with, just charming person that had that unique quality of likability. Very bright, very dedicated, but a real likable guy. And I certainly enjoyed my time there, which extended, started off as a sabbatical, but it lasted. I got involved in some real interesting projects that I couldn't let loose of. I was a new guy, so I got all the problem children, and it took a while to kind of work those out. And so I came back to the university as interim dean and then dean in the year 2000, and that tour of duty lasted for about 13 years, I think. And as I told Martha Saunders at the time when I stepped down, I wanted to go out on top, and I think we had just gotten our second accreditation. I accomplished many of my objectives. The most important one was hiring that next generation faculty, which I took great pride in, and many of which are still there and turned out to be very much stars in the College of Business. And so I stepped down, was going back to teaching, but I got drafted to deal with some problem children here at the university, which I really enjoy. I think I found my calling. I consider myself more of a business person than an academic in many respects, although I really enjoy the nobility of our mission in the College of Business. I think, as Rick will allude to, we really changed lives. And Rick's mentor, Dr. Tom Committee, used to personify that, changing lives, And the way I characterize it is the culture is it's a real noble endeavor to be part of this educational experience and to change lives and to give students the knowledge, the skills, the values, and the perspective to be successful in their lives and their careers. And what we do, I mean, the real nobility of this is that we give them the skills and so forth to get their piece of the American dream. And I can't think of anything more satisfying than contributing to that. And, it kind of warms my heart to be part of that endeavor.
And as I was doing a couple of these with Rick, I have to tell you a lot of that nobility, that's the perfect word that I have not associated with what we do, because so much of what we do as educators, wherever you are, if you're the president of the university, a chair, a faculty member, an ABD, is nobility, because you don't know where the students go, what they learn, and years later, how you impact them. So that's a perfect word. Don't you think, Rick?
I do. I think it's so heartwarming to hear the man I first knew as ABD, all but dissertation. I didn't understand much about academia until I came here as an adjunct, thanks to him. I want to make one comment. I'm so fortunate that I met Ed, Dr. Ranelli, his first semester. He gave me an opportunity to come as an adjunct, and I think I may have been the last permanent position he hired as dean. He told me they were doing a search for an instructor, and he said, well, I can go out in peace now. I think he was saying no one else would have hired me, but he got me hired as an instructor, and it's been a wonderful, really lifelong. I consider Dr. Ranelli to be one of my dearest friends, and he's been not just a mentor, he's been a friend and a colleague and an inspiration to me. So thank you for taking time today.
Well, Rick and I were talking just the other day and plotting to how we can make a difference at the university level and certainly at the college level. And I said, Rick, you really inspire me, and there's no greater joy than working with good colleagues, noble colleagues on a noble mission. And like I said, it really warms your heart to be engaged in that activity with good colleagues and pursuing a noble goal and having a measure of success.
So my question I'm hearing things that are coming out of this. Mentoring is a big one. My question is, how do you find those people? You both are accomplished and you're mentors for other people. Does it ever stop? So because Rick is I'm for sure his mentee at this point, whether he knows it or not. Does it ever stop, do you think? Do you ever stop being a mentor or a mentee?
Well, I don't think so. I think a lot of it is doing what you do, being who you are, and leading by example. And you talk about, how you put that team together that is engaged in that noble mission. And I remember one faculty member that we were recruiting, and the decisive thing in the interview process with him was, he said, Ed, I want to give back. I want to give back. I want to pass it on to that next generation. And that's the nobility of what we do. With that kind of passion and that kind of motivation, all the other things kind of pale in comparison. Certainly you have to be qualified and so forth, but the passion to give back is a key attribute that I look for in colleagues.
And, and I agree with that. Can you, Rick, did you want to add something? Did I just step over you? I'm sorry.
You really just hit on such a point for me about does it ever end being a mentor or a mentee? And I think one of my greatest treasures is Ed still mentors me. I will call and we'll talk about it. It may be about life, it may be about our children, it may be about anything. And often it's about the College of Business and the university. We, I think, are both driven beyond the College of Business to see great things happen for not just this university, but the community that this university serves. But he's given me a chance on occasions where I feel as though he's asking me to play the mentor's role on something new he might be doing that I had a little more, a different life experience. And what a great treasure it is to have a lifelong relationship where there's no expectations or no quid pro quos. We just genuinely care about one another. And I think that's the hallmark of Ed Ranelli's career, is whether he was at Baptist or the foundation of building the retirement center over here, in this beautiful building that the president refers to as the Taj Mahal built. Ed has always tried to do the right thing, and he's led by example. So talk about a life well lived. And I've heard him say about Tom Committee, he was a good and decent man. And that can be said. I think I had the privilege of writing that, and I was honored Ed asked me to write the nomination letter, support letter when he was nominated as Educator of the Year. And I think I was able to use that phrase predominant in there. So he'll never stop being a mentor. I think that one of Ed's last thoughts on this earth, as maybe you and me, is how do I make things better? How do I leave it better than I found it? And I hope I've learned that from him and some other really good people. And I learned from you, Ellie. I'm honored that we have a chance to work together, because I think a great mentor, we were talking lunch with a prospective student about what makes us different in the executive mentor program was one, and Dr. Bostwick said, so well, I think that the beauty of that program is at the annual banquet that the mentees speak and then the mentors speak, and amazed how much we learn of the benefits derived on both ends. So mentors that are great mentors are learning from their mentees. They're improving not just the mentee's life, but they're improving the quality of their life because they're learning. We learn from people. You and I have had a great relationship since you became chair, and I was a chair. I was a year ahead of you, and we had a chance to learn together. So I think it's a lifelong process. I'm going to end with that.
Learn, or I don't know what we were doing there, but yeah, it was, and that's how you develop it, and that's how you develop relationships. I'm interested with both of you, and I keep going back to 20 years ago, so in 2000, education has changed dramatically over the last 20 years. And so with that, there are certain things that have changed that haven't changed. How do you I'm thinking we started talking about the culture that you built over the time that you were dean. Is that still important as we go forward? How do we change with the times, I guess, is what I'm asking.
I think there are some common elements that extend beyond the time that are consistent. I've always thought culture trumps strategy, and if the culture's right, the strategy will fall into place. And culture is a product of people on board. And going back to what I said earlier, getting a good team. One of my greatest joys in life, and just about every endeavor I've been in, whether it was Baptist at the university, is putting together a good team. A good team, and a team. I've always said that I don't have subordinates or superiors. I have colleagues, and working together with good colleagues that have similar motivation and buy into that nobility of what we do here. It solves a lot of problems, and I don't think that's really changed. What we do is prepare students for successful careers and lives, and we give them those skills, the knowledge, the values, that perspective, get their piece of the American dream, and that's what we do. The way we do that changes. We're sitting here zooming. But we still are engaged in that same noble enterprise of changing lives. It's a little harder to do, perhaps, when you're sitting there and interacting with them on a regular basis, face to face, but that's what we do.
So I'm wondering, with the culture of, right, so there's commonalities, and we know that things are shifting a little bit. Rick, if you could look into your crystal ball, how are we taking what was and projecting out where we're going next? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Allie, you're talking about is the delivery of educational opportunities for students, or the running of the business of the College of Business. I'm curious which area you are, just in general, are you asking about?
No, I'm talking specifically about the College of Business. Where are we going? And it's kind of, as again, we have history with Ed of where business education was, and what are we doing different that makes it better, and what can we learn? I think part of this is a conversation of what can we learn and stand on the shoulders of the greats as we go forward.
One thing I think, and Ed may disagree with me, but I think we are learning how to deliver more meaningful experiences for our students, high impact practices. The department you ran is a model for that, where those students come out, and if people think in hospitality they're just learning how to clean a room, run a restaurant, or the front desk, those things, they don't know the depth that our students go into. And that's pretty meaningful in the classroom. But the way the internship, I think, is it 800 hours here?
800, yeah.
800 hours they have to have. That's changing education, I think. And I think what we're doing right now might be one of the most important things that will define education going forward. The ability to do something that's business-like, like overcome distance because of the COVID, to use this model. We've heard the head football coach from LSU say, and when said, we'll never go back to just totally face-to-face. We can be so much more efficient. And business has been doing things like a Zoom for a long time, go to meetings and things of education. I think our model was, if you could have one meeting, 2 would be better, and 3 would even be better. And then we did a lot of takeaways where the takeaway was, yeah, we need to get back and look at this and do another study. But I think this pandemic, and I'd be interested in Ned's take on this, but I think this pandemic and going to Zoom and Google Meets and these things has taught us to be more time efficient. We get a lot done. We're tired at the end of people. I never appreciated that. I thought it's a pretty good deal. I go teach 4 courses, and that's what I do. And then I meet with students. But I'm learning. Faculty and staff and administrators work extremely hard at the University of West Florida. And we are in these meetings from sun up to sundown, and a lot of times on into the evening. But I do think we're being more efficient. We've taken away a lot of travel time that would eat into our day, and we're even finding, while we're regrouping, trying to overcome the economic uncertainties created by the havoc that's been wreaked on the Florida economy, for example. we're learning that we can get meaningful information from a conference, that we don't have to spend a day flying and 2 or 3 days going to the social aspects. We can go in the 3 or 4 really meaningful hours. We can do that and attend to our other business in the day, the things that often got left undone because you can only be one place at a time if you're only going face to face. So I don't know that answers your question, but I think this gives us an opportunity to use some new tools and some new thought processes.
Rick mentioned high impact practices. I think that is a evolving trend, particularly in business education. Hands-on experience is something that is going to be a continuing trend going forward. Getting students to deal with practical problems. If you look at the major universities, Harvard, Stanford, and so forth, much of their educational experience is hands-on. Getting students out, solving real-world problems, case analysis that Rick has been pushing, working on real-life cases, and getting students to work in teams. We recently sat in on one of Rick's initiatives in finance, where we had a team of students presenting an analysis of stock and making stock recommendations. Students, as I understand it, are now managing about $2 million of the university's foundation money now. And what was it you were telling me the other day, Rick? Or, no, maybe it was KC, that they picked 13 analysis of 13 companies. And those companies, according to KC, are up 85% since the since their presentation about 3 months ago.
At Tesla, I think was up about 380%, and Teladoc, I think, was up about 800%.
Yeah.
But students, you and I were privileged to vote on which stocks they actually put the university's money in, and to look at the work. And I'm going to just jump ship on you real quick about that. I don't think I understood fully what hospitality did, and I was hospitality brought over here when you were dean, or was it after you left as dean? It was after
It was Tim.
Dean.
Yeah, Dr. O'Keefe.
Well, they were going to New York for a competition, and the depth that it went into in land values and cap rates and stuff, I had a whole new appreciation for those students. And what I think I've always loved those hospitality students, I saw them. I was on the second floor in that building over there, and I would see them. And one, their emotions were a lot like mine. They were looking for an education opportunity. They wanted more, but the respect they had for the process when they were presenting and how serious they were, it gave me such a wonderful sense of we're changing. Ed used to ask me when I first started teaching, he said, did you do good work today? Did you change somebody's life? And I saw lives being changed by your students, Sally, and I probably haven't told you enough, but that was a powerful moment when they asked me to be a judge, and I saw the depth of the quality of work. Their lives are changed. Whatever business they go into now,
Right.
they read a financial statement. They know whether they're profitable or not. So, yeah, I think that ties into high impact that you were alluding to, and the life-changing impact we have as educators.
That's what I admire. Your hospitality program is building that into your curriculum. I mean, you require, 800 hours of internships? I mean, that's great. That's great.
And so high impact practice is like the buzzwords right now. And what I struggle with a little bit, because my background is industry, and then I earned a PhD outside of business to actually teach and understand learners. But I guess my question is, how do we go from when you mentioned Harvard, how do we go from a theory-based discipline of business into more of a hands-on? Do you know what I'm saying? Academics, we love our PhDs and all of that, but like Rick is, and I have a PhD, but I don't come from a traditional academic PhD upbringing, but where we're going is we need more hands-on. Where is the balance? Do you have any advice on that, Ed?
Well, one of the things, I think, Rick, you might echo this, your mentor committee used to talk about this all the time, is that been there, done that, hiring faculty that have that practical experience. My own experience, I came out of graduate school, went straight through graduate school, and master's program, MBA and PhD program, and started teaching at a young age. Didn't have a whole lot of practical experience. I got involved in consulting work, and I found that was very exciting, and I enjoyed that very much. And then when I did leave and go into industry, and I grew so much. I learned so much. I mean, dealing with intractable problems, coming up with a business plan, implementing that business plan, financing that business plan, and doing it successfully over a period of time. And I can't think of anything that challenged all of my skill set, my analytical skills, my interpersonal skills, my relationships, my communication skills, more than dealing with real world problems and real people that had stakes and problems and navigating that zig and zag to come up with a successful solution. I grew so much more as a result of those practical experiences than I think I ever did in graduate school.
Yeah.
Training.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. So we're kind of at the end. I don't want to go too long. Well, we could go, I would love to talk again about the history of College of Business, because it's fascinating. What I would like to do, though, is I wrote down that I would really like to get a pearl of wisdom, if you will, from you, Ed, for our listeners who want to know about leadership and how to be a good leader. We all know there's not a magic formula, but if you could give a pearl of wisdom from what you have done, what would you say to some of our young up-and-coming leaders that were graduating out of College of Business?
Well, I would kind of approach that, my response, in terms of what are the attributes you need to be a successful leader and be successful in just about anything that you do. And the first thing on my list would be integrity. That you've got to, and that's broadly defined, but integrity, doing the right thing, always doing the right thing, and being able to discriminate as to what is the right thing. It's not always easy. The other thing is responsibility. One of my favorite words is responsibility. That you take responsibility to do what's required to be successful. Responsibility is a key word for me. Integrity, responsibility, and then perseverance. I've been engaged in a project here recently that has been very frustrating, a 2-year project, and some of my team members are basically saying, why do you persist? And I've had some experiences that that you really need to do the yin and yang to be successful. There's not a straight path that you, but you have to be persistent and find a way. integrity, responsibility, persistence, and enjoying what you do. Is really the key, and that goes back to that joy of being engaged with good colleagues of good character in a noble enterprise.
That's wonderful pieces of advice. I really want to thank the both of you for the time. This has been wonderful. Really appreciate those three things. And, I have to tell you, grit. Grit is known in the hospitality industry, and that's an area of research, and I love that because I know I'm a little gritty. Stick with it. So I want to really thank you for what you do, and Dean Fountain for taking us to the next chapter in our College of Business education. So with that, we're going to end, but if you want to hang on for just a second.
Thank you.
I'm going to stop the
Thank
recording.
you.
Okay, I apologize. It says I only had four more minutes on this, so I wanted to end it a little bit quicker. However, if I could, Rick, can I get your pearl of wisdom? And we'll put it on the podcast and just the audio.
I think that Ed's pearls of wisdom were so appropriate, but one thing I've learned from a mentor in the law business is diligence, and by that, he said, you don't get what you expect, you get what you inspect.
Yeah.
And I think that it's so easy to say, do the right thing. And it said, knowing what the right thing was. So I think that if you decide that you don't take the easiest course of action, you don't take the most popular course of action, but you take the one that in your heart of hearts, you believe after having it inspected, that that's the right thing to do. And in the long run, people that are impacted by your decisions, whether they like them or not, will respect that it was well thought out, it was intentional, and that it had, at the end of the day, the best interest of the folks concerned. It's not always a win-win for everyone. It's not, and we're blessed to have an opportunity to lead. It really is an opportunity. And I love Ed. I think we have the same culture here. I don't really have support. You've heard me say that. We work together over here. And I think another pearl of wisdom for a leader is, Ed said, accept responsibility. And another way of saying that is, if you don't have to get the credit, but you're willing to accept the responsibility when something goes wrong, that to me is the hallmark of being a leader. I know from my time with Ed, he wants people that report to him that are his colleagues to get all the credit they can, and he will put them in a position to be successful. That's more than a pearl of wisdom, but I think I learned a lot of what I know from Tom Committee and Ed Ranelli.
Like I told Rick yesterday, you inspire me, Rick. You inspire me.
Well, of course, you know that's mutual.